Good morning and welcome to my kitchen. Today I'm actually going to be making refried beans. That is my dog that is trying to get out right now. I wanted to show you how I make my refried beans after I've made meat in my Instant Pot. We usually make refried beans in our Instant Pot, and we also lately have been we put roasts in our Instant Pot all the time, and we shred it up and make tacos or whatever. We use it for sandwiches, put it in quesadillas. We use it for a lot of different things. But lately we've been putting the deer shanks in there, and there's so much collagen and so much yummy stuff in there. In the broth, I put the pinto beans in and then make beans and then refry them, and then we use them obviously for what you use beans for. But I just wanted to show you how I do it. Basically, I'm making pinto beans in bone broth, and it's a great way for my family to get bone broth without having to drink bone broth because they're not into that. So show you what I do. This is yesterday's. It's actually an elk shank, and it's cut in two because elk shanks are giant. So in order to fit it in here, that is what we did. And so I'm going to take the remainder of the meat off. We will save that for other things. And this has been cooking. I do it for a while, and then I actually slow cook it overnight afterwards instead of just putting it in the fridge. And so then it gets even more goodness from in those bones. I will probably make more from these bones because they could go even longer, but I'm just going to show you how I make the beans in after this step. All right, so I'm going to take out the meat. Take these bones out. This has come to be some of our absolute favorite meat to eat. So a lot of venison can be dry if it's not cooked the right way, but on here, a lot of people just throw this part of the deer away. The shanks are the leg part, but it has so much goodness. Gabe found a recipe online. Would slow cook it with like wine over it in the Dutch oven and like onions and carrots, and that's wonderful. But when we want to just do it a fast way and we just want the meat and all of that, what we do is we make it in here. We brown that meat in some oil in our cast iron, and that's how we use it for sandwiches. What's great is that these beans are already going to be seasoned, basically, because what is in that broth? We've been using the menudo seasoning to put on our shanks or on our roast. It just is so yummy. So that's all going to be in the broth. I just put the beans in and let them go. One thing I did want to say, I really prefer to soak my beans overnight. I do a lot at a time because we'll freeze some, but I soak them overnight with a little splash of vinegar. It helps break them down. But when I am running behind and I don't have time to do that, I will stick them in the pressure cooker. This water is already warm, and I will just let them kind of sit for a little bit and soak some up to see how much, because I don't measure and I just kind of guess. I'm gonna measure today just so that I can show you guys and write down, but I normally just eyeball it. The main thing is you don't want on the fill line, you don't want to go over that because those beans are 100% going to absorb, and then the water, it'll suck up all the water and it'll dry out. So I'm gonna let them sit just for a little bit, see how much, if I need to add, I'll probably need to add a little bit more water, and we'll see how it goes. Cup 3, cup 4. Cup 5. We are going to let that sit, soak up. After letting it sit for probably about an hour, what I've done is I've added about 6 more cups of water up to the fill line. There's the fill line. And there are 5 cups of beans in there. At least I measured this time to try and tell you guys how much to put in there. I have to put in a little bit more water, but basically I'm gonna put it till the fill line, and then I'm going to put it in for an hour on high pressure. If you let your beans soak overnight, like I said, I normally like to do, you will only need to put it in for about 30 minutes. Also, you guys see the cheese hanging? Yes, and all I could find was a necklace to tie it with. Yeah, it's called improvising, guys. This is after an hour, and it was an hour on high. I actually did, come on, goodness, this is not wanting to focus. Bean and chili, which is high pressure, and I did it for an hour. And I just let it self-release like on its own because I was gone, and it turned out perfectly. Now you can eat them as whole pinto beans, or you can mash them and do refried. There's even little bits of meat left in there, which is so yummy. Oh my gosh. I seriously, I have got to get a new tripod. My camera keeps falling. If you didn't see in the last video, my camera was falling as I caught it with 2 loaves of bread. So to wrap up this recipe, I used the broth that was left, that was probably about 1/3 of my Instapot filled with broth that I had left over from cooking the shanks of the elk. And I took all the meat out, put 5 cups of dried pinto beans, and then filled the rest of the water up to the fill line. Cooked it on high pressure for 1 hour. Seasoned to taste. I had the menudo seasoning in there from the shanks that we cooked, but you can do whatever seasoning you want on a normal roast. Then I will put more salt in there. It needs a little bit more salt, but that's easy to do. And that's it. It's so simple. And then you use the broth. You're not wasting anything. And because it was shanks and it had the bones in it, I basically just made pinto beans in bone broth, so it's going to be super nutritious and healthy and taste really good. Now, I do want to add, if I am just making pinto beans from normal water, I put a whole onion to half of an onion, a couple peppers, a little bit of cumin. I do lots of salt, tiny bit of garlic, and that's about it. Like I said earlier, I did not soak these beans, but I do prefer to soak my beans overnight. But a lot of the time I don't plan, and this is a last minute thing, which why the Instapot works so well for me is because I can think, oh my gosh, it's morning time and I have no idea what's for dinner tonight. Let's put a roast, let's put shanks, let's put some kind of meat in the pressure cooker that we can shred up, put on sandwiches, use just as normal meat with the vegetable on the side. Let's be real, most of the time it's for our sandwich because it's a quick, easy thing to make. Have a great, blessed day. Thank you for watching. Please come again. God bless. They're served. Fresh made corn tortillas, coquille hot cheese, except it's queso fresco with more salt. Homemade.